Welcome to the All Facts Matter podcast, where we push back against corporate media propaganda with facts, evidence, and data. I'm Peter, the author of All Facts Matter. Let's begin. I voted for Donald Trump, and I support his Agenda 47. I firmly believe that those policy proposals are, on balance, very much in the best interest of the United States. I'm beginning with that declaration because that's an essential framing for assessing the recent contretemps over the H1-B visa program and the advocacy that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, surprisingly, have made on its behalf. Suffice it to say, Elon is wrong, and Vivek is wrong. The data shows that they are wrong. The H1-B visa program is as bad as many have already said that it is. H1-B visa program, and really every other immigration program designed to import workers into this country, amount to the systemic theft of wages from workers who are already here in the United States. And the H1-B visa program is contributing to the declining employment population ratio in this country. As regards the ongoing jobs recession in this country, the H-1B visa program is an integral part of that problem. And the data proves it. Now, where this begins, of course, is with Elon Musk and other Silicon Valley tech bros voicing their support last week for the H-1B visa program, by which many tech companies, including several Silicon Valley mainstays, bring in foreign workers because of a claimed skills shortage. On Christmas Day, Elon very bluntly claimed on X that there were not enough motivated workers in the United States to fill needed tech jobs. And Vivek himself saw fit to chime in with a bizarre rant on X about American culture being too lazy and mediocre. And if you can figure out the connection between the 1990s Saturday sitcom Saved by the Bell and H-1B visas, let me know, because I don't see it. Now, regardless of any claimed merits of the H-1B visa program, Elon and Vivek's advocacy of H-1B immigration has one singular, unavoidable problem. That advocacy runs counter to the very first commitment Donald Trump made as part of his campaign platform, Agenda 47. Seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Now, expanding H-1B immigration does not sound very much like stop the migrant invasion. But neither Musk nor Ramaswamy engaged much with that policy point. Now, politically, that's an epic fail, because many of Trump's supporters, and myself included, are looking at his incoming administration with both eyes wide open and expect him to deliver on the very specific commitments made within Agenda 47. Now, whether you view this campaign promise as racist and xenophobic or putting America first, virtually everyone on both sides of the political aisle acknowledges that it was campaign commitments such as this that were a major factor in Donald Trump winning the presidential election. Reducing immigration, getting control over immigration, is a major reason why Donald Trump is now the president-elect. So, when advisors to a president-elect who campaigned on a fundamentally anti-immigration platform are telling Americans that the country needs more immigration, they're not giving that president-elect good advice. They're not helping, because the commitment is to get control over immigration, to reform and, in very real sense, reduce immigration. Coming out saying we need more of it, on the optics alone, that's just a really, really bad idea. That's a bad thing to say. Now, unsurprisingly, Donald Trump supporters were less than pleased. And there have been innumerable tweets on X to the effect of, this is not what I voted for. And they're right about that. And there's more than a few indicating that Donald Trump himself might be losing support over the issue. Now, whether the fracture within the MAGA coalition is irreparable remains to be seen. But at present, that fracture is real. Now, at the heart of the debate over the H-1B visa program is a growing chasm between the political will of Donald Trump's voters and supporters who want to see immigration reformed and the business desires of tech bros such as Elon Musk. Because there is no getting around that the driving force behind most employers' interest in expanding the H-1B visa program is to control labor costs. And a review of H-1B lottery data shows that the majority of H-1B visa applications involve positions which pay less than the prevailing wage for that particular industry. Even though H-1B visa applications are primarily targeting jobs in professional services such as information technology, typically higher wage positions. Some 75% of the positions for which H-1B visas are sought pay less than $150,000 per year. Now, that's good wages in absolute terms, but relative to the industries, those are low wages. Now, while the desire of employers to hold down labor costs is both normal and understandable from a business perspective, the desire of workers to seek higher wages, which is to say increase labor costs, is equally normal and equally understandable. And politically, this divergence between employer and employee interests opens the door for the H-1B visa program to be criticized as simply a means for employers to force down wages across the board. And when claims can be made that that there are skilled workers available to fill jobs, it's hard to argue that position. But it's not merely political rhetoric. Even Harvard economist and former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers tweeted out in November that Donald Trump's commitment to stopping the migrant invasion would cause a labor shortage, and that in turn would exacerbate inflation. And as William Upton noted, writing in the National Pulse, one implication of such an effect from Trump's proposals is that immigration levels have been used to suppress wages for all American workers. If removing immigrants forces wages to go up, well, then that means that bringing the immigrants in has meant a downward pressure on wages. The one suggests the other automatically. given the arguments that are made by many that there are available workers for many positions being filled by the H-1B visa program, just at higher wage levels, the conclusion that the program is primarily used to force down wages in otherwise high-paying professions is not hard to comprehend and is not unreasonable. I mean, one could even say that that's exactly what's happening. And alas for Elon and the tech bros, overall employment trends in the United States confirm that H-1B visas serve primarily to suppress wages in the United States. Eliminating H-1B visas as part of fulfilling Agenda 47's commitment to securing the border and getting control over immigration would very likely help increase wages in the United States. And most workers would like to be making more money. Now, longtime readers will recall that I have often criticized the Bureau of Labor Statistics Job Openings and Labor Turnover Summary Report for stating what amounts to fictitious numbers of job openings every month. Even before the start of the Biden-Harris administration, the number of job openings being reported had surged, especially relative to actual hiring. However, while job openings have outpaced actual hiring for most of the past decade, it's only been in the past few years, it's only been post-COVID, that the excess of job openings has become excessive. Yes, I have a weakness for bad puns. Yeah. It's only been recently that we've seen this tremendous spike in job openings that hiring has simply not risen to match. And more importantly, not all industries have been equally prone to having such surplus job openings. In construction, for example, job openings and hirings have more or less stayed roughly in line with each other. And this is the kind of behavior that we would see. Yes, you're going to see some from time to time more job openings than hiring and vice versa. But where there's more job openings, there should be in short succession more hiring. If you're really looking to hire people, you're going to find them. That's the expectation of what happens in a labor market. But that's not been the case, for professional and business service jobs. It has not been the case with private education and health service jobs. In both of these areas, we've seen that job openings have risen far in excess of actual hiring, and that there has been no real response to the increased job openings where there's more hiring. The job openings have moved almost independently of hiring, which shouldn't happen. Now, among professional services, especially, the recent excess of job openings stands out because that's not been the case historically. Pre-COVID, professional and business services did pretty much what construction does. That where there were more job openings, there was more hiring, or if there were fewer job openings, there was less hiring. But the two were in far greater alignment than they are now. Only in private education and health services did we see a significant surplus of job openings pre-COVID. But even that surplus, as we can see, more than doubled post-COVID. Now, the official narrative about these job opening surpluses is that they signify a tight labor market. That The reason there's so many openings and so few hires is because there just aren't any workers. But that can't be true. Let me say that again. That cannot be true. This cannot be the case. Because at the same time that we were seeing these surpluses rising to their highest levels, average real weekly wages in these same professional services areas were declining. If you take nominal wages as recorded by the Bureau of Labor Statistics and use the Consumer Price Index as a deflator, you get a real wage calculation which shows that in all of these areas where H1-B visas predominate and where the job opening surge was the greatest, real wages were declining. Even in education and healthcare, real wages declined as those job opening surpluses rose. Now, if labor markets are truly tight and are truly responsive to market forces, including tight supply conditions, average real wages in each of these sectors should have been rising. That's Economics 101. Scarce supply means higher price, and wages are the price of labor. That real wages fell indicates that, in fact, the labor market itself was far looser than was being reported. We didn't have a tight labor market. We had a loose labor market. That's what the falling real weekly earnings figure means. And when you consider the number of H-1B visa applications each year, numbers which we should note greatly exceed the statutory limits, which are 85,000 per year per employer. When we look at the at the number of applications that are being accepted into the program, these are the number of workers that employers want to import into this country. At this level of worker importation, the idea that somehow labor markets are tight becomes very dubious. Now, that labor markets are looser than has been reported gives particular significance to the fact that the pace of employment growth among foreign-born workers in this country has increased, especially relative to that of native-born workers post-COVID. That employment among foreign-born workers has been increasing is also confirmed by the fact that by the employment population ratio rising among foreign-born workers, even as the employment population ratio for native-born workers has declined. A greater percentage of foreign-born workers in this country have jobs than do native-born workers. Now, in a truly free labor market, with the one where, quote-unquote, all things being equal, we should see these two ratios about the same. The pressure on the pressure on workers to have jobs should be about the same, regardless of whether one is born abroad or born in this country. But it's not. And not only has it not been, But for a substantial portion of the post-COVID era, while the employment population ratio for foreign-born workers has been rising, it's either been plateaued for native-born workers or since about the middle of 2023, it's actually been declining. Yeah. Now, with employment among foreign-born workers rising, while employment among native workers has been in decline, there's only one conclusion to be drawn from this. Foreign-born workers are being used to expand the labor supply, and expanding the labor supply in this way will produce reductions in the average real weekly earnings, which is exactly what we've seen. But using foreign-born workers to expand the labor supply in this way is an arbitrary manipulation of that labor supply, and one that would clearly and predictably reduce wages. Remember, increase the supply, the price goes down. That's economics 101. So if employers are deliberately bringing in workers from abroad, deliberately expanding the labor supply, and we can see provably that they are expanding the labor supply, then the reduction in wages is the reduction in market wages, in real average weekly earnings, is also deliberate. And what else should we call such a deliberate and sustained reduction of market wages but systemic wage theft? And that's exactly what it is. Now, I have written at some length about the jobs recession in this country. Something that's been going on since late last year. And the data bears that thesis out unequivocally. There is, beyond any doubt, a significant imbalance between the amount of available work and the amount of available workers in this country. Now, it would be an oversimplification to ascribe all of the imbalance to the pernicious effects of an abused H-1B visa program. And it would also be fundamentally wrong. There are other causes as well, not the least of which are the residual after effects of the COVID pandemic panic lockdown lunacies that we experienced in 2020. We're still paying for those mistakes. But it would also be fundamentally wrong not to suggest that the H-1B visa program has not played a role. The totality of the data that we have, including the levels of H-1B visa applications and employment trends overall in this country, can only be explained if we accept that the H-1B visa program has been used to displace native-born workers and has been used to suppress wages in multiple industries. The data shows that that is exactly what is happening, and there is no other explanation for it. Now, Donald Trump pledged to rein in immigration as a part of his Agenda 47 platform. And again, whether you view that campaign promise as good or bad, as putting America first or being racist and xenophobic, regardless of how you view that campaign promise, the reality is it was a campaign promise, and it was a campaign promise that helped get Donald Trump elected. This is what he pledged to do. And this is what voters expect him to do. But as it stands, the level and manner of immigration in this country is not economically beneficial. And the data leaves little room to debate that. It's not it's neither racist nor xenophobic to say that that levels of immigration are creating imbalances in labor markets, are creating what amounts to a jobs recession, are pushing down wages. And these are not economically good things for the people who are already here. And the data shows that's exactly what's happening. The data leaves little room to debate that. And the data also leaves little room to debate that programs such as the H-1B visa are contributing to what amounts to out-of-control immigration and what amounts to economically harmful levels of immigration. Now, the H-1B visa program may not be the entirety of the problem with the U.S. labor markets, but there is little doubt that the entirety of the H-1B visa program is a problem with U.S. labor markets. And there is little doubt that the H-1B visa program needs to be terminated completely. Whatever benefits might be realized from the program do not outweigh the costs. They do not outweigh the cost to labor markets, and they do not outweigh the cost to American workers overall. Could the program itself be somehow reformed and its defects cured? That seems unlikely. Remember, the foundational premise of the program is to recruit workers abroad when there are no workers available domestically. Necessarily, that must work to have a downward effect on wages across an entire industrial sector. By design, the H-1B visa seeks to expand the labor supply, and expanding the supply of any resource is going to reduce the market price for that resource. And remember, wages are the price for labor. Expanding the labor supply means reducing wages. That's Economics 101. Moreover, the surge in job openings, a surge which is not matched by an increase in hiring in most cases, is all too easily explained by employers gaming the system. And I've commented on this before, that it is quite probable that a significant portion of the reported job openings each month do not really exist. And many who have commented on my work have voiced the same sentiment, that what they have seen in their own experience is that these job openings are largely fictitious. That these job openings represent jobs that the reporting company has no intention of filling. That hiring has not risen to keep pace with these job openings for nearly all sectors other than construction makes the surge in job openings highly suspicious. And that such a surge takes place amid falling real wages looks even more suspicious. Again, if there were a real labor shortage, we would be seeing wages rising and not falling. But unfilled job openings make for a very convenient justification for pursuing H-1B visa applicants, which is to say, cheaper labor. Now, within a free market system, scarcity results in the market price of any commodity being progressively bid up until an equilibrium price is reached. And that means that in labor markets, scarce labor should result in wages being progressively bid up, as wages are the market price for labor. And a true shortage of workers should result in real wages going up, not shrinking, which they have been. So if the H-1B visa program were truly necessary to fill jobs that cannot be filled with domestic workers, that would be reflected in the average wage data, and it is not. If the H-1B visa program were not creating distortions between available work and available workers, we would see that in the employment population ratio, and we do not. Now, there simply is no defense to be had for the H-1B visa program. The program is suppressing wages and distorting labor markets in this country. The program is, as I said at the beginning, systemic wage theft, which is absolutely harming workers, all workers, immigrant and native, by reducing their wages. Now, a program which cannot be defended should be eliminated. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, instead of seeking to expand H-1B visas, should be using their DOGE mandate, their Department of Government Efficiency mandate, to pursue ending them. Elon and Vivek say that H-1B visas are good and necessary for the economy. I call BS on them both, and so does the data. And that concludes this presentation. I hope you found this podcast helpful and informative. Please like it and share this with your friends. Word of mouth is how I publicize my work. Please also consider making a one-time donation or becoming a paid subscriber to All Facts Matter. Your support is what keeps this work going, and I greatly appreciate all of my subscribers. Without you, this work would have no meaning. I encourage everyone to be especially generous with feedback. Leave a word or two in the comment section so that we can keep the discussion going and that we may learn from each other. Thank you all for listening, and have a nice day.